Top of the morning to everybody. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of an arrangement that I've done as I do the Fletcher Jones show. I do this every week. And so it helps to try to be as efficient as possible. So I'm going to show you what I've done to make myself a little bit more efficient in the process of this. This is the bin of clips I've shot this week. And you notice I've got the white stock numbers here. And let's say, for example, this one. I've got just the stock number. Then the next one I've got just the stock number. And the next one the stock number, so on. But here on this one I've got the stock number followed by the white paper followed by footage of the car. The reason is because this particular one was shot this week and these ones were shot previously. And then on this window in the middle here, I have my project, my project. And then I have my browser viewer and my canvas viewer and my inspector and graphics and elements and so on and so forth. So I'll be building the project here using that footage that I have over in the bin on the left. And then over here on the right, I have some very important things that you need to know about. First off, as I do my projects, I record the time that I start everything. I know the time's a little wrong because I actually restarted the computer right now. But I record how long it takes me to do everything that I do. And this little program called Office Time keeps track of those things as long as I hit the start and stop button and I keep it going and enter in the details right here. And then here I have my activity monitor. I like to monitor my memory pressure. And the reason being is, as I talked in a lesson before, when the memory pressure starts to get too high, the computer gets sluggish. And I find that if I can quit Final Cut Pro, drop the memory pressure, I can actually work a little bit faster. So I have this and I monitor this and keep it up here at all times so that I can keep an eye on it as I progress through the show. I have my calendar back here. I just do this because I'm constantly asked if there's anything that I have space for so I can fill it in. So I just keep it open rather than having to open it all the time. It doesn't affect anything, so it doesn't bother me at all. And then right here, this is very important as well. I have the stock numbers, and these are all the stock numbers of all the things that I've shot in the past and in the present. Right now they're arranged by date, but what I'm going to do is sort ascending by number so they'll be easy to find as I go through them. The ones with the check marks, I believe, are already sold. What I did was I cross-referenced my list with their website, FJToyota.com, and if the stock number did not appear on their inventory list, then I assumed it was sold. So technically I can get rid of these, but here's the thing. I'm going to show you I'm going to sort by event date. Okay, these ones were all shot on the 22nd, and there's still some that have not been sold. They're still on the lot, so they're still in the show. All right, like this Honda Civic, this Ford Fusion, those two are still there, and they will be in this show. So when we go back over here to the monitor on the left, we can see that I still have the event from 3/22 up here. And now at this time I wasn't shooting those white stock numbers, so it's a little more difficult to find. Like I've got one here, but for the rest of them I wasn't doing that. I only did it here because this one didn't have a paper. And this is actually what made me get the idea to shoot the stock numbers on the white sticker. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if you look at this car, for example, move your hand out of the way, Gus. All right, you can see this little sticker right here. Well, that's the same as this big sticker that I'm shooting here. And what's important to know about that is the fact that this matches what's on the paper. It won't on this case, but it matches what's on this paper. And so the paper gives me the details about the car, but this lets me know real quickly which car I'm shooting. Because if you look over here in the event, you can see the number very clearly right here in the little thumbnail. You can see it right there as well. So when I go to the newer events, when I started actually shooting these numbers, I can see the numbers so clearly right here. It helps me to find things very, very quickly. So I shot this on the 22nd, so it's right here. Okay, so this is the footage for it. So I know that if I open up this project and I come back here to the project and I go through it, I can look for that stock number, which is 5694C1. I can actually look for it here in the titles. So let's see if we can find it real quick. Right here. So this is the Fusion. This is all the information, including the stock number, price, and everything. And this is what I've put as what it is. I've got equipado, so let's, and we won't change it right now. So I can actually copy all that and paste it into my new project. Okay, so that makes the organization of this much, much easier. But like I said, since I have some items that still haven't been sold from the 22nd, they're all here. I cannot get rid of this event until all of these things from 322 have been checked. Okay? I can go through and get rid of them individually, but it really doesn't help. It's kind of a pain to do that as well. It's a lot better if I can just toss the event, because then I can toss the entire project and all its render files and everything that goes with it. So once these are checked, once I know all of these items have been sold, I don't have to worry about it anymore, and I can toss this entire event from 322. But to make it easier for me, I'm at this moment during my edit session, I'm going to sort these by ascending here in the stock numbers, and I can look back and I can easily just go, oh, okay, well, this is here. Actually, what I can even do, let's take this and throw it right here, and then I can see the date of when the number was, like right off the bat. Okay, so this is how you use the spreadsheet to make everything a lot easier for you. All right, now I'm going to begin editing. And what we will do is we will begin by going to the event that I need and finding the segments of it. They'll start right here. This is Carlos. I think Carlos ends up doing the entire thing. So let's go ahead and put him in there. All right, so I've selected him all, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust it before I even put him into the project real quick. So if we look over here, we can see the 5 selected clips. I'm going to toss numbers or audio channels 3 and 4. Go to the audio tab and toss the 2 channels. I never use those channels. Now if I look at number 1, clip number 1 has, this is obviously Carlos's channel here. So let's turn this one off. I think this one's in my pocket. So we'll do the same for the rest of them. And we'll just turn off channel 1. Channel 2 should be good. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that I have them all selected. And I'm going to hit the letter E, and it drops them down into my project. And then I can come in and delete the audio, or I mean not delete the audio, delete the parts that I don't want. So I come up here, Command B. I mean, this is pretty simple stuff here. Let's go to the end of it.
Continuamos.
And we're going to make some adjustments to this because I had to use, it was really windy on Tuesday. So I had to use the Asden mics, and I'm not a fan of those mics. They sound like they're talking to you through a crappy old phone. The transmitters and receivers are fine. I think it's just the particular microphone tone, which is a Sony microphone. It just has a ton of mid-range and nothing else. It's very flat everywhere else. It's definitely not exciting. Listen.
Amigos, muchas gracias por continuar con nosotros. Aquí tenemos este 2007 Hummer.
He started as I was talking, the bum.
Amigo.
It was so windy I couldn't even hold my camera up straight. It was really bad. I find it rather interesting how well these mics can kill the sound of the wind.
11,997. Acá los esperamos, amigos.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got the segments laid out. Let's see the timing on it real quick. 25:41. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to go back over to my bin. I call it bin from the old Final Cut Pro early days, 7 and stuff. But it's an event now. So I'm going to go back over to my event. And actually, I'm going to look for this event that says elements. What I want is this. And then later on, I'm going to want these commercials. And I can probably toss some of these. Let me toss this commercial. I don't need it anymore. That's the generic. March specials. We're already in April. Don't need that. And I don't know what that is. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I've got the generic and the April specials. Ooh, we got to shoot May specials next week. I forgot about that. All right, so I'm going to click on this, and I'm at the very beginning of my project, so I just hit the letter W, and it pops into place. And I like to scrub it back about 10 frames, usually just for the transition purposes. And then if I just hit the letter E, because it's already selected over there in my project, in my event, I hit the letter E and it goes to the end. And I'll give it 10 frames here as well. Our total time now is 26:20, so I need to fill in 2 minutes and 10 seconds almost. 2 minutes, 9 seconds, and 4 frames if you want to be exact. So let's add some spots. So if I go over to my event and I select the commercial, I can just hit W. It pops into place. And that adds 30 seconds. They're testing the fire alarm right now. I guess they're doing some tenant improvements somewhere, so they have to test the fire alarm constantly. So you're going to hear this every now and then. Also, if you notice, the time up here is going to jump every time I switch screens. Sometimes it's because I stop for a little while, but I can't. I'm not actually recording all of this at the same time. I'm recording different screens at different times and piecing it together. So if you notice the time jump, that's why. Okay, so now I'm going to put the generic spot down in here, and I'm not going to go back to my other screen. I'm just going to stay here in my middle one for a little bit, and place these down. And we'll see at the end of each of these how much time we have. This should be 2 minutes right there. And I need to add another 10 seconds. Probably the best way to do that would be, let's add a spot at the beginning. Let's add the generic spot. So that takes us 30 seconds. That's 20 seconds over. But I can trim 20 seconds off. All right. I just trimmed some off of the front and back here. All right. So there we go. We're at 37. So we're 7 seconds off. I don't know that I can trim 7 here. No, that doesn't give me enough time. I need about 5 or 6 seconds for that disclaimer. So what I'll do is shrink some of these a little bit. 102, we'll take this one to 102 as well. All right, 2806, so we've made up some time. Let's just subtract 18 and we're done with that. So there we go, there's our time. I normally don't like shrinking the segments. You can get to about 102, 103% before it starts to look weird and sound weird. But I just keep it, if I keep it about 102, I'm okay. All right, so we've got it full of spots. So it's perfect. Oh, you know what? Nah, I don't want to do that. I'll leave that spot there in the beginning. I'm thinking if I put the generic one right here. I think I'll do that. Let's take this instead of there. Let's put this generic spot right here. And we will replace this with the, oh no, that's a generic. We'll replace it with the special spot. We'll replace it with the special spot right there. And just pull that out. All right, so we're at 28:30. Perfect. Okay, now what I always do is I always put my music down. And how I do this is I select all my music. Now, what I've done is I've gone through each of these and I've already set the volume settings for them. So I don't have to go in and set them all the time, every single time I use it. And if I select from the beginning and go to the last one, and I hit the letter Q, they all pop down underneath the audio, or underneath the storyline. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to mix them. And there's always a space. Let me cut off the beginning here. I'm sorry, but as annoying as the alarm is, it's funny.
May I have your attention, please? May I have
It
your
used to be
attention,
worse.
please?
It used to say something like, please exit the building through the nearest exit. Do not use the elevators. All this weird stuff. Okay. Each of these songs, they come from a royalty-free music library. They have a little bit of a trailer right here. And so I can use that as a mixing point for the next song. Now, I'm not doing professional DJ mixing here. I'm not looking for that. This is just background music. So I'm going to cut it there, move it forward. And when I do these cuts, see, the reason I don't have it overlap the commercial here, the commercial already has its own music. So when I do these cuts, I take this little fader bar right here and I adjust it so that it fades in and out. And then here I just find a good place to overlap. It's right there.
May I have your attention,
It's so
please?
annoying.
May I have your attention, please? There has been...
All right. Let's hope it goes away for a little while, or at least until the fire inspector finds the next point of checking the alarm. Another cool thing you can do is just add 30 seconds. That way you don't have to sit there and drag it and try to find where it's going to go. You can't do that on the node. You can just do that on the actual clip. Oh, here it comes again. It blinks too. So I've got this flashing light in my office right now, shining in my face, giving me a headache along with the noise. And the reason I'm not leaving this for a later date is because I got to get this project done. And this is the perfect time to show you how to do this, while I'm trying to do the project. I think I took that too far. Yeah, I did. Way too far. Let's come back a little bit. That's better. That's what that does right there, right in the beginning. It's because it's so hot in here right now. Just kidding. It's because as I'm editing, I'm on fire. Okay. Let's clip it there. Take the nodes. I think I might have forgotten a couple of fader nodes, but okay, so I can add one more. So I'm just going to go up to the bin, grab the first one,
May I have your attention,
drop it
please?
down and add it.
May I have your attention, please?
Hopefully this doesn't overpower me or the sound of the computer here. Okay, so here's the end.
997. Acá los esperamos, amigos.
Sounds pretty good. Now my volume isn't anywhere near where it should be. So I'm going to create a node here and bring another one over here. And I'm going to bring it up to, I usually bring this up to -6. Oh, stop it. I moved it 6 frames, darn it. All right, so this should be better.
Acá los esperamos, amigos.
Okay, let's do the same here. And what I do is I don't fade it out or fade it in before the person talks. I fade it out as the person talks, or fade it in as the person talks. It causes a little bit of an envelope overlap, which is good in my opinion. I think it sounds a little better. Now, keep in mind, his volume isn't where it should be yet either. So,
Amigos, buenos días. Los saluda Carlos Ruelas, gerente de ventas de Fletcher.
so what happens is, let me show you what happens. If you do a fade out before, it sounds empty. At least it sounds empty to me. Ready?
Amigos, buenos días. Los saluda Carlos.
See that? It's like it fades out in preparation for something. Let's take it right to the beginning of his words here.
Amigos, buenos días. Los saluda Carlos.
When it fades out before he starts, I don't know, it just leaves something. It's missing something. So what I do is I find the first high peak, and then I look at the distance between the first high peak. Well, probably should go here, but I'll take it here. It's amigos. And then I find about twice the distance from the first high peak in the start of the clip. And that's where I set my ending node or my starting node. And this is what I get.
Amigos, buenos días. Los saluda Carlos Ruelas, gerente de ventas de Fletcher Jones.
It kind of, it fades out because he starts, not fades out and then he starts. You know, it doesn't leave a gap there. So we'll do the same thing here at the end. I think I made this one too long here. So what does he say?
Acá los esperamos, amigos.
Acá los esperamos, amigos. So right here should be where I begin my fade up. Right about there should be where I end it.
997. Acá los esperamos, amigos.
So it leads him right out. There's like no gap. If I were to leave it there, even if I were to make the fade up short until he's done talking,
Acá los esperamos, amigos.
I don't know, it just doesn't flow as well. I like it better this way. This is just a personal opinion. You don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I feel. And I just think it sounds better that way. All right, so we've got those. Now let's adjust the audio to make it sound good.
Amigos, buenos días. Los saluda Carlos Ruelas.
Okay, first thing I'm going to do is equalizer. Let's bring this equalizer up and let's play with it a little bit.
Gerente de ventas de Fletcher Jones. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros este fin de semana. Comenzamos el show el día de hoy. Aquí les presentamos este Nissan Sentra. Amigos, este es un modelo 2013. Tiene poquitas millas, todavía tiene garantía de fábrica.
Okay, that sounds a little more full. I've always been taught that instead of equalizing up, you should equalize down. So you should cut the frequencies that are too strong rather than adding the frequencies that are too weak. Now, if you need to, you can add some. But I think this sound where he was right here is just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that. He hit his mic. Okay, I'm going to turn this up. We'll go to 8. Now the other thing I like to add is a compressor. So we're going to add that.
Recuerden, amigos, estamos ubicados en 3255 y Sahara, casi esquina con Boulder Highway. Acá los esperamos. Por acá, amigos, tenemos este otro.
All right, let's throw that in there.
Es un Chevrolet Cruze, también es un
Oh, no, he didn't hit his
tiene
mic.
poquitas millas, tiene su garantía de fábrica, su Carfax limpio. Precio regular, $17,997. Este fin de semana.
All right, so if we open up the compressor and take a look at it.
$997. Recuerden, amigos, muy importante. Aquí en Fletcher Jones,
I'm going to bring up the ratio.
Todos nuestros departamentos te atendemos en tu
And I'm
idioma.
going to add a limiter.
En ventas, en servicio,
And bring the limiter
financiamiento,
down so that.
todos hablamos tu idioma. Aquí 100% te atendemos en tu idioma. Aquí tenemos
Come on.
2012, este es un Toyota Prius.
Right
Este
there.
es el liftback certificado, tiene poquitas millas con su garantía.
Now I'm
de
getting a
7
little
años,
wind noise
100,000
in there,
millas,
so
muy importante. La
I think I'm going to
garantía
bring
de
up
7 años, 100,000
that.
millas, ya viene con el vehículo, no te va a costar extra y esa garantía es buena en todo el país. Ese tiene un precio regular de $21,997.
All right, and I think I'm going to drop the volume down to 6 instead of 8.
$997. Recuerda, el Toyota Prius
All right.
está 50 millas por galón. Es lo mejor que existe, lo mejor que hay.
Let's bring the limiter up a bit.
No hay otro carro que te dé 50 millas por galón.
Okay, I think it sounds a lot better than it did. There's a little bit of interference and stuff in there. There's nothing I can do about that. Unfortunately, where they are, there's things that cause interference, and there's not much I can do about that.
Ese te da 30.
Oh, look, I added a mark. Let's delete that mark. I don't need that mark.
Presentamos este Nissan.
Okay, so we got that. Now, let's adjust the color. Actually, let's adjust the color first. Notice a little vignetting here. That's because of my lens filters. I've got a polarizer and an UV filter, and they're actually smaller than my lens. I've got a weird size lens. And so the filters that I needed for this were much pricier than they should be. So I opted for a slightly smaller filter. And with that slightly smaller filter, I had to get a step down ring because that was a lot cheaper. It was like almost $400 just for the filters. But with the step down ring, I ended up only spending about maybe $90 to $100. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying. It looks a little bad, but because I put the stabilization filter on this, these will disappear, and I don't have to worry about them. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, so let's mess with, you know what? I have a preset here that I usually use because most of the time everything looks the same. But in this case, I think I'm going to bring my exposure in the mids up a little bit and the highs up a little bit. I think I'll bring, no, my darks look good. Bring the saturation up a little more and my color. Let's see. I think it looks, globally, it looks a little yellow. So I'm going to take some of the yellow out. I think that looks good. Let's bring the saturation down just a bit. I think it's a little much. That looks good. Very nice and clean. All right, cool. Now let's go to the stabilization. Down here, and I turn on my stabilization, and it always does this, no matter what. It always does this. So I let it do that process. So I'm going to copy this clip. And I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to click on all of these, and I'm going to Command-Shift-Paste, and it lets me adjust the attributes. Or it lets me paste the attributes from this clip into these other 4 clips. So I'm going to put color on there, and I'm going to add the effects, the volume, and the EQ. I don't have to worry about the pan. And I'm going to paste it. And you'll watch these waveforms change. They might not change right away, but they'll change. But now,
Este es el modelo LE, pero es el equipado, viene con sus rines de aluminio, viene con su quemacoco, tiene poquitas millas, garantía de 7 años, 100,000.
The wind was so bad. It was like ridiculous.
197 ese fin de semana, te lo puedes llevar por solamente.
It was like 25 to 30 miles an hour the whole day. There wasn't anything we could do about it, though. We had to shoot on Tuesday. We couldn't shoot on another day because of my schedule. So we went with it. And I accidentally stuck that down there. All right. So here we go. Now, the basic project is done. And you notice one thing that I do is I lay out the audio first. And I do this because I've learned from many, many years of editing, it's easier to match video to audio than it is to match audio to video. So if somebody was doing a voiceover and they wanted to match a commercial, I find that it's easier if they give me the voiceover and I match the video to it because I can do that. I can cut it exactly how they want it. I find it's easier to do that than it is for me to cut a commercial and have somebody try to sit there and go, oh, we have meat for $2.99 a pound, and then we have roses for $12 a dozen or whatever at the exact same time. It's really difficult. And if I don't get the video timing right, it can be almost impossible to do it that way. So I find it's easier to lay out the audio. And I've been doing this since 94. So what I did was I laid out these tracks just like this with the video and the audio combined with them talking. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to add the titles and the graphics and the other B-roll footage. And I find it's much easier to do that. And the other thing I've done is I've laid out the music. I used to wait until the last to do this, but we have a deal with a caption company and they like to have the audio beforehand. So now that the audio is laid out, I can actually export it and send it to them. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll look at my settings real quick. It's an AIFF file. And I send it in two formats because I don't know which format they prefer. I should probably ask them. But the guy that I was dealing with said, you know what, go ahead and send it in both formats because they have different captioners at different times. Sometimes it's one guy and another time it might be a different lady or something. And each one likes different files. So he prefers that I send it both. And it doesn't really take up much more space. It's like 10 megabytes or something like that. Okay, so we pretty much have everything laid out. And I'm just going to add one transition here. This is my favorite transition of all the transitions in Final Cut Pro X. This is called Light Noise. I don't know why I like it. I just like it. I think it's cool. And I usually make it 20 frames instead of the standard minute and a half it is. It's a really slow transition. I'll just show it to you real quick.
997. Acá los esperamos, amigos.
See, it's kind of slow. I think actually this one's 20 frames, so no biggie.
997. Acá los esperamos, amigos.
I like it at 20 frames. All right. So now all I have to do is add titles. Oh, you know what I'm going to do since I'm here already. Let's go ahead and get these things analyzing as well. We'll just add the stabilization. Just click it to turn it on and it starts analyzing them right away. And if we look at our progress here, transcoding and analysis tells us how far it's gone through each clip. I'm going to move this over here because a lot of times I'll watch it on that third window or third screen or third monitor or whatever you want to call it today. All right, so we start out and we go here. Okay, let's go back to our event for a minute. And look, now remember I was telling you about the stock numbers, right? So we've got all these stock numbers. So this first one is 5713C1. I can't read today. All right, now let's go find this over on this spreadsheet here. 5713C1. All right. And we can see that it was done on the 19th. So we come all the way back over here to the event. And we can see it here. Now, we said that was the 19th, so we find 419 right here. And we just double click the project. And the project will open up over here in the middle. And we look for that one. It was 5713C1. So let's find it. That's a Corolla S. Okay, 5701, 5716. That's an Altima, not a Sentra. I think it was in the middle of a bunch of Camrys last time. What's that? 56. I think it's this one. There it is. 5713C1. So we just select it, copy it, go back to our other clip, and we can paste it here. And it should have all the correct details. And if I've applied any filters on the video, it's got the filters. Any color changes on the video, I've got them. Wow, I didn't know they... Oh, yeah, they do certify these ones. And then I can extend this out. Let's zoom out just a bit because I think it's a little tight there. I can extend this out until he starts moving. Right about there. Now, what I do is I listen for the point of entry for when he starts talking about the new price.
Este te da 35 millas por galón. Tiene un precio regular de 17,997.
Which is usually right about there. Why is it not snapping? Okay, there we go. And let's throw this footage back a little bit. So here's what it'll look like.
El día de hoy, aquí les presentamos este Nissan Sentra. Amigos, este es un modelo 2013. Tiene poquitas millas, todavía tiene garantía de fábrica. Este te da 35 millas por galón. Tiene un precio regular de 17,997. Este fin de semana te lo puedes llevar por solamente 15,997. Recuerda, nuestros teléfonos aparecen ahí en pantalla. Llámanos, haz una cita para que vengas a una prueba de manejo. Solamente por venir y manejar un auto, te llevas una tarjeta de $25. Pero si compras un auto, asegúrate de decir que nos viste en el show de Telemundo y la registración va por cuenta de nosotros.
All right, so there we go. So that's how I use that little spreadsheet over there, how I can use it in combination with all this stuff. And it keeps me a little more organized, and I'm going to use it a lot in the future because, as you can see here, when I go to the event that I'm currently working with, you can see now that the next one does not have the title, 5717C1. Actually, I already have this one. I shot it again. Oh, well. It wasn't on my list. Anyway, these shots are... Oh, I know why it wasn't there. They took this out for a test drive last week, so I didn't get to shoot it. So that's why it wasn't on my list. Okay, so now I have the footage. And I will be able to stick it in there. And also this one here, this one was not on the list last week. This one wasn't even in the show last week. That was such a bad transition there. So I've got this car there as well. And what I will do is I'll apply the effects and I'll put this in my spreadsheet for April 26th show. And when all these cars that are shot here, not all these ones, but the ones here with all the video footage and stuff on them, when all of these are sold or they're taken to auction or whatever they do with them, once they're off the lot, I can toss them. I can toss the entire event. I'm going to continue working on this show, and when I'm done, I'll send it out to the client. I'm not going to let you see the rest of everything that I do here because it is tedious and takes a long time. But there is another lesson that I have planned that I wanted to show you, and I will try to do that as soon as I'm done with this show. If not, I'll probably do it tomorrow. All right? It's a pretty nifty little thing that I've discovered, and not really discovered, but I've had to work with, and I kind of want to share my feelings and experience with it. All right? So leave a like if you enjoyed this one and if you learned anything. And feel free to subscribe, or let me know if there are any questions that you guys have that anybody would like to know about Motion or Final Cut Pro or anything that you think I'd be able to answer. Let me know and give me a comment or a personal message or whatever you want to do, and I will try to respond and try to record something for you. All right. Thank you very much for watching.